let's have a conversation.
Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sure I'll see you at one of these events again
All
soon.
time, we got Mark with the Mindful Reality podcast, who I've been a guest on, and it was a blast.
Thank you for having me, honestly, and I cannot wait to do it again. We're going to do this again in the future. I just know it.
What's up, everybody? It's Mark of Mindful Reality TV from a mental health perspective. I'm excited today because I am covering the challenge. I think I have done maybe 2 other recaps out of I think this was episode 6 today, but I was just kind of watching the challenge in between Big Brother stuff. So I didn't take any notes. They weren't really full breakdowns, recaps like I usually do. But today, because there's no live feeds, there's no anything else. I mean, there is Survivor, but I had to make an executive decision since they both come on at the same time. Survivor, I'll catch Thursdays. The challenge, I'll catch Wednesdays. So the episode was phenomenal for me. I loved the episode. I'm going to get into it. And I took my notes. Hi, Debbie. So the episode started with Kyland coming back into the house after he beat Huey in the last episode, and everyone was congratulating Kyland. They were talking about chaos because TJ mentioned at the end of last week's episode, he said, there's this big countdown clock going on, and when it reaches 0, there's going to be chaos. So everyone's talking about this. What is this chaos? What does it mean? What is going to happen when that happens? What I caught was Jay was talking to somebody and he specifically mentioned mercenaries. So I guess to them, it might have been obvious what chaos was potentially going to mean, or they had it in their mind that chaos meant mercenaries were coming in there. So that's one thing that I kind of noted. Let's see. Jay, Asif, and I put Nani. Jay, Asif, and Nerys. It doesn't help that their names both start with N's. Jay, Asif, and Nerys talk about how good Karen is at the game. Asaf talks about trusting Corey. Asaf and Corey are having a conversation about how much they trust each other. After I started doing these recaps, I started to understand if 2 people are having a conversation at the beginning of the episode and one person says in the confessional, I trust this person with my life in the game and I don't have to worry about them at all. They would never put me up. I'm like, that person probably put them up. So I already thought that there was going to be something going on with Corey and Asaf because they foreshadowed it. And also watching so many of Wes's breakdowns, it is now hard to watch the challenge without noticing the way that production lays it out. It doesn't make me enjoy the episode any less, but it does make me kind of have an idea from the beginning, at least the pieces that are going to be put there in the end, or major pieces in the game later on, if you're following me. So Asaf also says that he's playing both sides. He's like, I'm playing the UK side and I'm playing the American side. You know, I'm kind of trying to get the best of both worlds type of thing. So they get into their daily elimination, and it's called Upside Down. And they're attached to a truck, and the truck spins around in circles. they have to, when the thing spins them around, they have to grab these rings, and then they have to drop as many rings as possible onto this pole, and then each ring that gets on the pole gets a point or something like that. It gets points for it. I think it's each point, each ring gets a point. These games are cool looking, but hard to follow at the same time, hard to count. So I'm just looking at it. I see the numbers, I see the scores, and I'm basically like, it visually looks cool, but I'm not going to know who won or what happened until we get to the end. So we get to the end, and the pair, because, oh yeah, I'll mention at the beginning, TJ was like, it's chaos. So you guys don't know whether you are going to be individual, whether you're going to be in pairs, whether it's going to be a group. From now on, you find out when you get there. So the pairs were randomly picked. So they didn't get to pick each other. He picked them out of this case, and all the partners were put together. So the pair that ends up winning is Corey and Raven. Corey and Raven end up winning. And this is great for both of them because Raven just recently went into an elim, and Corey's name has been thrown out there quite a bit. So it was great for them to be safe. Until here comes TJ with the twist. TJ's twist is that he said, you guys have to pick a man right now to go into an elimination. No deliberation, no nothing. You and Raven, Corey and Raven, have to pick on the spot who's going to go into the elim. So they go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They end up picking Asif. Corey basically says it's the person who has the least connections, and he said he's not close with him, which Asif took heavy exception to. I get the impression that they edited out a lot based on what people were saying in those confessionals. It sounds like Asif went on a big rant. He went off. That's the only thing I wrote in my note. Asif goes off on Corey. He calls him a snake. He calls him a bitch. You know, he's just going on and on and on and on. And Corey was like, any one of these guys would have picked you. Everyone that I pick is going to be mad. You know, so it didn't end there. So they showed in the club, they were having the club scene, and it showed Michelle arguing with Corey because Michelle gets really paranoid in these games. And the reason I even paused when I was thinking about that is because I've met Michelle like 3 times now, and she's very nice. And she openly admits that these games give her paranoia and things going on like that and require therapy. That's why I'm trying to be a little bit light in a way, but she gets paranoid in these games. So she was instantly thinking, Corey put me in danger because I was Asaf's partner, and it could be a case where he goes down with his partner. That's what she's thinking. They have a big argument about it. Corey says, I didn't even think of the fact that you could possibly go in. And he's crying about it. This is a thing that bothers me about today's challengers versus yesterday's challengers. I feel like yesterday's challengers were more savage. Today's challengers are more emotion-based, but it is what it is. I still love my show. But I just don't really feel like that was worth a massive argument, but that's what happened. So let's see. He wants to put it, I have here that Kieran was having a conversation where he was saying they should pick a big target and they should put in a ratio. And it showed them talking about Jordan, and Karan was like, I don't know who Jordan is. Who's Jordan? And I was like, the challenge fandom is gonna love that. Karan not knowing who Jordan is. Asaf, they were having a deliberation because the group was now gonna pick the person who's gonna go against Asaf. And Asaf says he wants to go against a big dog, basically. He wants to go against Karen. And he's like, okay. So they go around, they do the votes. There's only one other person who got votes, which is Emmanuel. And it was a 10-4 vote to put in Karen. So Karen is going to go in. So we get into the elimination round, and then TJ makes his announcement that shakes the game up. He says, I told y'all to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I feel like he said that before on the season that they had the mercenaries. So everybody knew, all right, there's going to be some champs coming through. So the first champ that we get is one of the best champs in history. And TJ gives him a hell of an introduction. TJ is like, this guy has been on 9 seasons. He's been on 6 finals, and he has 4 wins. And he said, one thing about Jordan, he will never give up. All right. So everybody sees him. And then the stipulations are that if Jordan wins, he takes $10K from the team bank. And if that person beats Jordan, they get to stay in the game. Which I wonder a little bit about mathematically, but I guess, I don't know, there's just more people that potentially could win in the final. I guess because there's only one winner this time, so it is what it is. So Jordan is doing what he is legendary and famous for, which is the draw, which he famously had the draw on one of his seasons. I think Dirty 30. And he flipped all 3 so that he could for sure make sure that he faces bananas. So of course they would make him do the draw. So his draw is to pick either Karan or Asaf. So he ends up pulling out Karan. So it's going to be Karan versus Jordan, which seems like a pretty good matchup. Now, before I even get into the recap of that, I have to say this about Jordan. 2 things. I hated a young Jordan. I mean, he's still young. He's like early 30s as far as I know. But I hated Jordan when he was just starting off on the challenge. I didn't like him on the real world. But as I watched him go through these challenges, I was like, how does this man always find a way to win these eliminations with one hand? It's like the person he's going against is the underdog. He won a tug of war competition with one hand. He gave Fessy a run for his money in a pole wrestle with one hand. He's beaten a lot of people in a lot of things. So I was excited to see what is he going to do in this game. So in this game, it was like a reaction type of game. They stand in the middle, and then whichever side lights up, they run to that side, and whoever pushes the button first gets a point. And at the end of the time, the person with the most points wins the round, and best 2 out of 3. So I see the first round. Karan wins the first round. So I'm like, oh, wow. So he just beat Jordan in that first round. Second round comes. Jordan just stands there and allows Karan to get the first 2 points. And at first I'm looking at him and I'm like, did something happen? Was there some kind of dirty play or dirty move where he's quitting? And then I'm like, Jordan doesn't quit. And then they show his confessional, and he said, I am giving you the first 2 points, and I'm still going to win. And just as he said, he gave him the first 2 points, and he still won the second round. So always dramatic fashion. Jordan doesn't just want to win. He wants to embarrass people and rip their hearts out because he loves doing that. And after watching the challenge documentary, you understand, because it showed a little bit of his upbringing and how he never wanted anyone to see him as an underdog or feel sorry or bad for him. He wants to beat the baddest, and he wants to be the biggest dog. So we get into this third round, and I start to see Jordan do this thing where he is, hi, Tammy. Jordan is running up the ramp and standing there and waiting to press the button. And I was thinking at first that it was just for him getting rest, until I realized that this is a timed competition. So if you're up and you stand there next to the button, A, you force the other person to have to run up the ramp. Otherwise, he's just going to time you out. And B, you do get rest. So once again, not only is Jordan extremely athletic, he is one of the most genius challenge minds ever. And he wins. And he takes out Karan. He wins round 3. He starts to give a speech about what it means to be a champion. His doppelganger, a.k.a. Tori's ex, Emmanuel, turns his back and basically says, I wish I could see you down here. And Jordan says, hey, I hope you get that chance, brother. So Jordan snatches the 10K. He takes a little bit of team morale, and he wins this one. So now I'm excited to see which other vets. I mean, I know CT is going to be around. I know Cara Maria is going to be around. I'm so excited to see these elimination battles and to see the rest of the season unfold. Once again, I think this was an amazing episode. And shout out to the challenge for always doing something different, trying to change the game, trying to refresh things. I love it. I love the show. And thank you all for tuning in. Please hit the like button, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. And I will see you for next week's episode. Have a good night.